Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to our first ever MGFA Paint and Sip night. Really excited about this. And again, thank you for taking the time out during MG Awareness Month. My name is Michael Antonellis. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for MGFA. And our guest artist tonight is Erin Bernard. And I'll introduce Erin in just a minute. But wanted to talk a little bit about just some housekeeping for this paint and sip tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun, a lot of cool things going on. And also wanted to talk a little bit about MG Awareness Month as well. So as you know, MG Awareness Month every single year is in June. And this year we've kind of changed the theme a little bit actually. And we're trying to turn awareness into action. So MGFA has been holding and conducting a lot of different events, activities and challenges throughout the month. And it's just a great time to make sure people that you know, your colleagues, friends, family, they know about the challenges that people with MG are facing. And also, learning about the treatments and the great research that's going on around MG. So it's just a great time to get involved and really take action. MGFA, again, like I said, has a number of different events, including our What's New in MG Research webinar. This will be this Thursday. We have our Southeast conference on Saturday, and we have our first ever tweet chat using Twitter next Tuesday. And as I said, we have our Cook Challenge, a challenge going on, our global map. And we're just asking people to get involved, take photos of yourselves, and submit those photos to MGFA. So a lot of really cool activity going on for MG Awareness Month this year. Now, and talk about our paint and sip tonight, just a couple of things to keep in mind. The first is we're using a normal Zoom platform tonight because we want to be able to see everyone's work. And we'll ask you to show your work off at a couple of times throughout the evening. But that also means that we're asking you to please stay on mute. So if you have any questions or comments, please use the Q&A or the feature in Zoom. But do make sure that you're on mute for the entire event. I did want to apologize. I am sorry to say that not everyone received a paint kit. We sent out paint kits over the past month and a half or so, but there was such high demand for this event and we're really excited about it. But we just were not able to get paint kits for everyone. We did run out, but we are recording this event and we'll send you all the link. So if you don't have a paint kit, you can actually go out and buy yourself a very inexpensive acrylic kit and you can do a little bit of practicing yourself, which is great. Now remember, there's no pressure at all tonight. This is supposed to be a really fun event. We have a lot of folks who are actually going to be logging on with a number of different, like just a variety of abilities and talents. So, some people are artists and some people are trying this for the very first time. Remember, if your artwork doesn't look exactly like Erin's, don't get discouraged. Erin's been at this for a very long time. But everyone sees art in their own way, which is really cool. It's one of the best parts of, about any artistic work that you're creating. So, you're taking it with your own expression and your own take and vision for the artwork. And Erin is just going to be a guide helping you along. But everyone's going to have their own unique artwork, which is really, really cool. We're actually going to have 3 different parts. The first part, Erin will start out and we'll do a background in acrylic. And then when the paint is drying, I will take a few minutes to show off and demonstrate some watercolor techniques. I'm engaged in some watercolor painting during my free time, and it's been a hobby of mine that I've loved for a long time. So we'll go over some watercolor techniques, and then we'll go back to the acrylic, and then you'll finish your work of art. So make sure that you have your acrylic paints out of the box, ready to go. Erin's going to take you through the equipment that you'll use for the acrylic artwork. Now, remember, this is a paint and sip. So whether you have an alcoholic beverage or not, we hope that you have your liquid courage next to you, you have your drink, and just to let you know what I'll be drinking tonight. So I have a little bit of champagne that I'll be drinking. And this is a glass actually that was created by Erin, our guest artist. So Erin made this glass. This is teal ribbon on it. It also says MG Strong on the bottom in teal. So I'll be drinking out of Erin's really special glass that I won in an auction, an MG auction. So everyone take a real quick sip of whatever beverage you have. And remember, at the end of the night, make sure that you sign your artwork and take a photo of your artwork. And if you're someone who really likes social media, or you just want to send it to a friend or some family, please definitely do that and share the paintings with us at MGFA. So we're about to start. We'll have Erin kick it off in just a couple of seconds here. Erin is someone who lives with MG. She's not a professional artist, meaning she doesn't do art for her full-time job, but she really enjoys art. She's been at it for a long time. She's done some really amazing work, beautiful pieces of work in the past. And it's really a great hobby for Erin. And Erin participated in our art challenge last year, and she had some really beautiful artwork. So we asked her to conduct the paint and sip tonight. So Erin, I'd like you to introduce yourself, and why don't you kick it off?
All right. Hello, artists. Hello to you that are coming in. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate that you're all here. Like Michael said, I do live with MG. I was diagnosed 2 years ago after a few months of symptoms and finding a really great doctor. And I'm really happy to be here with you guys tonight. I've been painting for about 5 years, maybe a little bit more, mostly with my mom, and she's actually here with me tonight to keep me on track and make sure I don't forget things. Thank you, Mom. And she actually helped me to plan what we are going to paint tonight. She helped me to design it, and we practiced together a lot. Hello, my lovely sister-in-law, Marish, I see you there. I live in the Chicago suburbs with my husband and my daughter. I paint with my daughter as well, and I'll show you one of her paintings tonight too. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight, if I can see myself bigger, good. All right, so I want to make sure that you have, can you please make sure that you're on mute? If you're not on mute, go ahead and get yourselves muted. All right, we want to make sure that we have all of our supplies. So if you did get the kit, make sure that you have that open. What you're going to find inside is everything that you're going to need tonight. You should have a tray of paints in that kit. You are going to need the white, definitely. And then what I want you to do, because you're the artist tonight and you get to choose, I want you to pick a color for your background. So what's behind me is what we're going to paint tonight. I am going to paint in teal. It's going to be a little bit darker than this teal that I have here, but I'm going to paint in teal. And if you want to paint in teal as well for MG, you want to go ahead and grab the Viridian. It's the darker looking green that's in your packet or in your kit. I would caution you against the emerald green. It's a little bit lighter. I would caution you against yellow. What we want for this one is probably a darker color. We're going to use white as an accent, but you're the artist, and some of you are probably more experienced, and maybe you're not beginners tonight. Maybe you've picked up a paintbrush in the past. And so you can accent with whatever colors you feel like you want to incorporate into your painting. That goes for you beginners too. But what we're going to paint with tonight is one background color and with white. So very basic, we're only going to need 2 colors. At the end, you could pick a different color for the power word that you're going to add. On this example, I did use black, so you could use that. But in my other example here, I used white for everything. And then in my mom's example, which you guys can't see at the moment, she used gray, and then she used teal to do her power word. Okay, so there
is that what we're painting?
That is what we're painting, yes.
Is it a dandelion? What is it?
It is a dandelion, yes.
Okay.
In your kit, you'll have 3 canvases. Just open up one of those canvas panels. That's what we're going to paint on tonight. So have that ready, have your paint ready, and then your brushes too. You should have 6 brushes in your kit. The only brushes that I am going to use tonight are the largest one, the largest flat brush that you have in your kit. and then the smallest round pointed brush that you have in your kit. So we want the largest, basically we want the largest brush and the smallest brush that you have in your kit. Okay, the smallest round pointed brush and our largest wide flat brush. If you're an experienced artist and you have your own supplies, I would recommend maybe a bigger flat brush. And even maybe if you're a fan of the fan brush like I am, you might want that too. So you can have those off to the side. The other thing that you're going to want tonight is some water. So get a cup with some water in it. You're
Need
going to need
water.
just clean, clear water. Yep.
I've got canvases. Turn on the light. I've got well, I don't know if Grandpa and Audrey want to do it. We have
Just one canvas per person. You should have 3 in your kit. And then a paper plate or something to use as a palette or a palette if you have one. I'm going to be using a paper plate tonight just because most of you are probably going to be using that as well. Please don't be confused. I've been practicing with the kit and I have used up all the paint in my Viridian and almost all the paint in my white. And so I'm going to be using just some other store-bought paints that I bought that are the same colors, white and Viridian. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get set up. You are probably going to be painting on a flat surface, like a table, and that's okay. If I were to move out, if you have a piece of chalk somewhere in your house, you might want to grab one of those too. It's not necessary, you don't need it, but if you have one, it might help you with the word that you're going to paint on there later. Okay, I am going to be using an easel so that it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. You're probably going to be painting flat on your table top surface, and that's okay. I do that too. In fact, when I painted this one, I did do that flat on the table. If I were to move my my painter's chart here, you would see that I do paint directly on the tabletop, and there are big squares of teal and all sorts of different colors. So we are going to paint this dandelion, and my mom and I designed this or came up with this together because it's something simple for someone who has never picked up a brush before to do. And it also incorporates a few different techniques that are important when you are starting off as a painter. I paint mostly in acrylics. I have done paint nights like this. That's actually where I started, was at a paint night. And then I just started to paint at home because I really enjoyed it. Typically, I'll take a picture that I find on Pinterest or somebody posts on Facebook, and usually it's a nature scene, and I will try to recreate that, or maybe I have something in my head that I just want to put out on canvas. So that's really what I paint, is mostly nature scenes or bits of nature, such as our dandelion. So this really is something that anybody can do, whether you're a very experienced artist or a beginner. And to prove it, this is the painting of the dandelion that my 5-year-old did. My daughter did this one. So everybody can paint. You are all artists tonight. So I want you to make your first decision as an artist, and we're going to make a lot of decisions together today. So let's get ourselves all nice and confident in our artwork and how we want to express ourselves tonight. So go back to your paint colors, and I want you to choose what you're going to paint with tonight. Again, I'm going to go with the Viridian, because when I mix that with white, I'm going to get a really nice teal. You've got a really nice phthalo, dark blue, cobalt in here. There's scarlet and crimson. There's even orange that you could work with. Whatever color you want to work with, you may go ahead and do that. If you want to do something gray, like my mom did here, you're going to mix some black and white, and you could do that too. So whatever you want. Now I'm going to show you one of my MG tricks, and that's painter's tape. And I'm going to throw that on the back of my canvas so that it doesn't move around on my easel too much. It's a smaller canvas and it's not going to get trapped up here. And so to make it easier on my left arm, which does get weaker as I use it, of course, you all understand. So thank you very much. That is my MG trick. Throw some paint on the back of my canvas. Are we ready, painters? Are we ready, artists? Let's get started. So take that color that you chose for your background, take your main color, whatever that is, take your palette, and I want you to go ahead and squeeze some of that paint out. You're not gonna need too much. Okay, so whatever color you're choosing out of your kit, you're not even gonna need half of it. Okay, so I want you to squeeze out about a thumb's width squeeze on that tube. If you need more later, you can always add more. I like to conserve my paint and not end up with too much on my plate or my palette when I'm done, because I don't like to throw it all away. And so just get yourselves a little dollop there. You can always add more later if you need to. And then the other thing that you're going to need is white. And you're probably going to use about half your tube today of white, maybe some more than that, but don't start off with quite that much on your palette. You'll need maybe the same amount as your main color that you started with. So if you can see that on my palette, got the white. I'm trying to get it in the light for you. Got it. Yes, maybe. Sort of. I hope you guys can see that, but you want about the same amount as your main color that you're using. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that larger flat brush, your wide flat brush, and we're going to get started. So let me go ahead and put on my smock so I don't ruin my nice shirt. And let me reposition the camera so that you guys can see it better.
Hey, Erin, it's Michael. Just a quick thing for anyone who wants a larger view of Erin. In Zoom, if you go to the top right of your screen, there is a view button. If you click on that and go to the presenter view, it will make sure that Erin, when she's talking, that her view is the largest view and you'll be able to get a better look. Just wanted to make that point.
Awesome, thank you. All right, artists, take a deep breath. Take that large flat brush that you have, take your palette and your primary color and scoop off a bunch of that paint. You can be as messy as you want right now. I'm a messy painter. So we're just going to cover, get paint everywhere on our canvas. Everywhere across. Now, while you're painting, and we're going to keep in this kind of vertical up and down motion here as we do our background. So, and I want you to go all different directions. If you're going to go horizontal, that's fine. You're the artist and you can choose to do that. But what I want you to do is remember which direction you're going and only go in that direction for this painting. That's going to be important for the background and the streaks that we're going to be going for later. You could also do diagonal if you really want to go crazy. But just make sure whatever direction you're going that you stick with it. Okay, we're going to load this up with paint. Give it all you've got. Just try and get paint just about everywhere. I don't want you to glop it on too much. We don't want it to be too thick or it's not going to dry during our watercolor segment. But we do want there to be enough paint that we're not hearing a scraping noise of our paintbrush to our canvas. We don't really ever want to hear that sound. So if we're hearing that sound, that means our brush is dry or our paint is drying or we just don't have enough on. So go ahead and just load it up. We're going to use almost everything that you put on your palette and just get paint everywhere. You really can't do this part wrong. So just go for it and cover. And while we're doing this, I want you to try and paint with me. Okay, don't wait until I'm done and then moving on to the next step to get started, because I'm going to have to keep going. Acrylics dry a little bit quickly. It's one of the reasons that I like acrylics. Oils take a really long time to dry, but acrylics don't. And that's how we're going to do our painting tonight and get that all done in about an hour and a half. All right, because it's going to dry fast. But while it's drying fast, that means we have to keep going if we're going to blend our paint, which we are going to do. And oh, my tape is not going to hold. too well. I'm gonna put that right there. All right. And just load it up, get as much on there as you can. I don't think I put enough paint on my palette, but now that I have paint kind of everywhere, almost everywhere, not completely everywhere, but almost everywhere, I'm gonna start dipping into that white, okay? I'm not going to wash my brush. Notice I'm not putting it in the water yet. We don't need to. We're gonna blend our colors together so the white can get messy on my palette, and that's totally fine. So I'm gonna grab a bunch of white, and I'm gonna start just putting that white everywhere. As I'm going, again, I'm going in an up and down motion, vertical the entire time, same direction, so that my lines aren't going all different ways. Okay, so I'm just going to add the white, and you can see already how much we're blending here. So we've gone from this really dark teal, and now I'm getting a nice light teal. And if you look closely, you can see that I've got a lot of streaks going, because I'm not over blending. So what we want to do is get the white in there, but we don't want to mix it so much that we end up with just one color. We want to kind of preserve these streaks. So what we're looking for at the end, let me show you. You can see there are a lot of streaks in this background, lots of different color in there. So that's what we're going for. So we want to keep the colors slightly separated. We don't want to overblend. Here I am with paint all over my fingers, and I'm going to get it all over my beautiful works of art up there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going, keep adding white, and just keep working all over my canvas until the whole thing is covered with this nice streaky white teal background that I've got going here. So what colors are you guys using? Go ahead and pop into the chat, throw us some comments, let us know what you chose. And something else you should be thinking about while we're doing this is what power word you want to add at the end. So I've got a couple examples on the wall over there. One of them says hope, the other says dream, and I've got another one that says wish. Okay, so I've run out of green, and I do want to add some more green. So you can keep adding your base color, your primary color that you're using for your background in with the white. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, I put too much white here, that's what Bob Ross would call a happy little accident. And when we're painting, there really isn't anything that we can do to make a mistake that we cannot fix. And so if you feel like you don't have enough paint, or you use too much of one color while you're trying to blend, or maybe you over blended, just grab some more paint. I'm just going to grab some more green. I'm going to throw it down here in the corner. I'm going to blend it into where I've got all this white, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my canvas wet with paint. And I can add more white, and I can add more green until it looks exactly how I want it to look. The other thing I want to caution you against is when it looks perfect to you, and you say, you know what, I love how this looks, stop. Stop right where you are. Don't add any more paint. Just, if you keep going and you keep adding, you might ruin what you felt was perfect. And I've done that many, many times as an artist. Thought, oh my gosh, I could make this sky better. I could do better on that. I could change this, and then, oops. Then I've messed up what I actually did like. So, all right, so I'm getting nice coverage, nice thick coverage everywhere, not too gloppy. Make sure that you are getting your sides of your little panel as well. That way you can hang it right on the wall when you're done. You won't even have to frame it if you get your sides. If you see a lot of paint kind of bunching up at the edges, just scoop that off. You don't want to leave big drips or globs. Just scoop it right off. Make sure you use the same motion, the same vertical up, down directional motion when you're doing that on the sides. Otherwise, you're going to ruin your edges, and you're going to all of a sudden have horizontal little smudges. So make sure that you're continuing to use that same motion as you are going. All right. And I can feel some of my paint is drying. It's starting to get sticky and tacky, and that just means that it's drying, and that's okay. If I need to add more paint to a spot, I can always go right back to my palette, excuse me, and pull some more paint in and just make sure that I'm covering all those areas. All right, so you can see now that on the right side of my canvas, I'm getting a nice streaky finish. Lots of color, lots of movement going on back there. Nice streaky finish. And I haven't really finished on the left side. That's okay. I'm gonna work my way over. But get your edges. Oh, my edges don't look that good now that I've got it over here. So I'm gonna fix those, but get your edges, get corner to corner coverage, and just keep on going. How's everybody's looking? How are you guys doing? Keep going in that direction. Keep covering until you have your whole canvas covered. Nice and streaky finish. I'm gonna get my edges. Get my edges over here. Okay, because I didn't do those that well. Whoop. There we go. Making some happy little accidents as I go here. I'm just gonna pull that paint up and down, vertical motions until I have it where I want it to be. Continuing to have that streaky finish. Don't overblend. Don't overblend. You just want a nice streaky finish when we're done. That's going to add a lot of movement for you and have a really interesting background without having to do that much. So the same technique that we're doing right now is the same thing I would do if I were painting a sky. If I were doing a painting and needed a sky, I would do the same thing that we're doing right now. I would add a bunch of probably blue, maybe purple. Depends what I'm making. But then you just add streaks. You don't overblend. And you get a lot of movement. So you could use the same technique to do some wonderful nature scenes. Get yourself a nice sky. All right. How are you guys doing? How's it going out there? You're feeling good about this?
Here's where being a myasthenic and having home health care and you have gloves available for you so you don't get your hands dirty.
Excellent. Oh, I don't have that. There you go.
There are perks.
Excellent.
You little shit.
We know what we're doing. All right. I'm gonna grab a lot of green here and try and make this a little bit faster for myself. Get this wet. Just keep moving on your canvas. Just keep going till it's covered and you're happy with it. And then, like I said, once you're happy with it, stop. A lot of times when you're creating art, just as in writing, if you keep going, you can end up making changes that if you just stopped, you would have left it right where it was and been happy with it all along. All right, I'm going to add a big glob of white and let's see what happens with that. So your canvas does not need to look exactly the same on one side or the other. Your left side can look a heck of a lot different than your right side. It can look pretty much similar. However you want, you're the artist, whatever you want it to look like, that is up to you. A lot of this is going to be up to you tonight. I hope you're ready to make decisions. All right, well, I'm really getting this in here. Getting gloppy up there. And I am almost done. How are you guys doing? Are you almost done? Are you getting to the end of your canvas? I'm going to add a little bit more here in the middle, because I feel like it looks a little tacky. Not tacky as in like tacky, I mean like sticky tacky. All right. And I know I told you guys when you're happy with it, leave it alone. And then here I go and I keep changing mine and I'm making myself unhappy with it. So I'm going to take my own advice here in a second and stop. All right. Almost there. Got some good movement in this one. Add a little bit of dark spots in here. All right. So let me show you what I've got going on. Lots of different movement, a little bit of dark spots over here. I might add a little bit more, but it's up to you. I'm trying to give you some good light. A lot of streaks in there. It's not one color across the whole thing. We don't want it to just be one solid color. We do want to have some movement in there. If you're feeling like it's really dark in one spot, grab a little light and just blend that in. Use your same up and down motions and you should be able to cover that pretty well. Okay, try and stick this so that I can get the bottom here. Organ. All right, there we go. There we go. This is why I get messy, because I hold my canvas. Do this a lot. Let me get my bottoms. Make sure I got all that. Almost, almost. Okay. How are we doing out there? Are we happy with what we're making? Pretty simple, pretty basic, but a lot of technique that you can deliver into other works. And see, I keep going and I should stop. All right. Lots of movement. Lots of movement in that one. I like that. So you can always fix it. Whatever it is, you can always fix it. And I will tell you, actually, with this teal one that I keep pulling off the wall to show you, I took some black and put that into my background on that one. And I accidentally kind of globbed it all over the place. And all of a sudden, half of my canvas was black. But it isn't anymore because all I did was I just kept adding teal and I kept adding white until I got back to what I wanted. All right, so we are pretty much done with our backgrounds and we're going to need to let this know. It doesn't matter if your canvas is horizontal or vertical, you're the artist, however you want it to be is perfect. The ones I have behind me are all square canvases and the canvas that came in your set is a rectangular canvas. So whichever direction you have it is perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I wish I had gloves. Let's look at that. But it'll wash up, no problem. So once you are done, you're going to let that sit. We're going to let that dry. We're going to take a break here and go through some watercolors with Michael. But if you're not quite finished, just keep going with that. You're just going to be doing that same vertical or horizontal movement, whichever one you were doing, and make sure that you have the entire canvas covered. And then we're going to let it dry. It's not going to be completely dry before we start working with it again, but we want it to get past the point of blending in new colors. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put our dandelion on in fresh, plain white paint. And we don't want it to blend in with whatever our background color is. That's what we've been doing this whole time. So we want this to be a little bit drier before we go ahead and get started with the next layer on here, which is going to be our dandelion. So Michael, if you're ready, I'm going to toss it over to you and we can get started with some watercolors. So go ahead and put your acrylic painting aside for now, put your palette away, and Michael is going to take you through some watercolors.
So Erin, that's great. Before I start, a couple of good comments though, I thought I'd share with you. The first one is Marici said that he mixed 2 blues, which I thought was really interesting. So a lot of mixing of various colors. Zach said that he toned down the Viridian with raw umber. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And some people were asking, so what is raw umber? Yes, it's brown. It's a shade of brown, so that's cool stuff, Zach, right there. A lot of people saying they're liking their streaks, which is really cool. And I did want to address, oh yeah, a question, does it matter if the canvas is horizontal or vertical?
Nope, either way, however you want it to be.
That's great. And the last comment, or actually the question is this being recorded so that you can practice later? Absolutely, absolutely. So we are recording this and we'll send a link out to everyone who pre-registered, so you'll be able to do a little bit of practicing. And
Okay.
Carol had a question. Can the acrylic paint be watered down for the watercolor section? For you folks who received the actual paint kit that was sent out, there is a separate watercolor pan that you can use. So if you don't have the kit and you don't have the watercolor pan, then certainly when you receive the link to this recording, you can go out and get a very inexpensive watercolor pan and you'll be able to do a little practicing, which is great. So everyone, I'd like to talk a little bit about watercolor. We're taking a break here, and then I'm going to shift my camera and show you a couple of techniques. So watercolor really is a very challenging and actually pretty difficult medium. It's very different from oil and acrylic. There are so many differences, but one of the biggest differences is with a lot of oils and acrylics. You know, many times you can use a dark color and layer white or lighter colors on top of that. And with watercolor, you really can't do that. You really need to start from a lighter color and move to dark. So we always go light to dark in watercolor because of the water and the nature of the paint. If you try to take a lighter color and apply it to a darker color, it'll just muddy up the colors. In watercolor, it's more of a blending technique. So there's a lot of beauty in mixing colors and making sure that you use the water to tone down colors as well. So it's a very delicate dance between the paints and the colors and the water in watercolor. So it's more of an impressionistic medium in many ways. You can create some sharp lines and get some detail from watercolor, but for the most part, you're trying to create the feeling of seeing something, whether it's a beach scene or maybe a house or some flowers or something like that. It really is a very impressionistic medium. And so keep that in mind when you're watercolor painting, and don't get too concerned about a lot of detail. You want to be able to step back from watercolor painting and take a look at it from a whole, from a distance. Many times in oils or acrylics, you can step right up to that painting and you can see those brush strokes. In watercolor, you don't need to really do that. You want to step away from a painting and see the impressionistic approach. So if you received a kit, there are a couple of items in it. You do have this pan, very simple kids pan. One of the best things about watercolor is it's very inexpensive and it's easy to get started. You don't have to buy a lot of different types of paint. Now, certainly watercolors come in tubes. It comes in professional pans, or it comes in, you know, kid pans like this. Very easy. So you take a couple of brushes, and there is a brush in there. Also in the kit, I provided a piece of paper. This is a linen paper. Usually in watercolor, you would use a cold press for your watercolor, because the cold press has a lot of different gaps in it, very tiny microscopic gaps, and it sucks up the water. It's just a better type of paper for watercolor painting. So get your cold press paper, get your colors on the palette, and we're going to use this kids kit right here. And I am going to use a couple of my own brushes. We're going to do a watercolor wash for a sky. We're going to add some waves in an ocean. And then we'll finish off with some grasses and a little bit of sand for a scene from the ocean side. So I'm going to make a couple of quick little changes here, and I'm going to zoom in just a bit. Here we are. Okay, so first of all, I did a very short little drawing, quick drawing. Can't really see it on this, which is totally fine. But we're gonna have sky here and some water, and we're gonna have some sand at the bottom. So we're gonna start out with the water, just a little bit of water on a brush, and we want to use a wide brush. We always start with a little bit of water for a sky to create the watercolor wash. And what you'll do is you'll take that little bit of water on that wide brush and you'll go back and forth. So it's almost like you're painting with paint, but you're really not. You're painting with water to start. And that's how you begin mixing the colors of this ocean scene. So a very thin layer of water, and then you can actually start loading up your brush with, in this particular case, the blue color. And the blue will allow you to start creating a sky. You want to take long strokes back and forth so that you're covering and be able to take this blue and stretch it right across the canvas. Stretch it right across. And so again, because this is an impressionistic sort of medium, you're starting to see a soft bit of clouds just starting to appear a little bit on the paper. So back and forth, and you're mixing the color together. And now what you want to do is get into a position where you can add some other colors. Maybe this is maybe it's a sunset. So maybe you want to add a little bit of red. You can mix those colors on the palette, or you can add the colors to the wash. And remember not to use too much water. You don't want to use a lot of water because then it'll start to streak. Now, you may want to have some clouds. And so also because of the wash that you have in place, you can actually start to add some cloud formations. Just a little bit of a lilting kind of feel to the brush, just making some clouds. And then you can actually start to mix those clouds into the sky. And again, just a very, very soft stroke of the brush can create these clouds. And maybe some of these clouds are a little bit angry. So you can use either a black or a brown. And you can start to add just a little bit of darkness to the clouds, and it all mixes in. Again, I'm going from light to dark, right? So the light blue with a little bit of red, and then the purple for the clouds, and now we're adding the darker color for some of those more angry clouds. Just like that. And then what I usually do is I'll take another clean brush, and I'll just start to softly add that color and mix that color into the clouds. So from a distance, you're starting to see the impression of clouds, even though, you know, they're not really clouds at all. It's just some brush strokes. So that's the beginning of the sky, and we have some of those clouds. I'm going to now add a little bit of ocean, and so with the ocean is actually going to be the same technique. It is a watercolor wash. So I'll start with plain water. And then even if there's a little bit of color in the water, it's fine, not a problem. But we'll start with the watercolor wash, coating the area where we believe the ocean will be in our minds. And then we can do just like we did with the sky. We'll start adding color. There's the ocean water. Now, in watercolor, when you're creating an ocean, you do want to make sure that you are creating horizontal strokes, because the horizontal strokes will follow the water line and actually create the water line in the flow of the ocean. So it actually looks like you're at the beach and you're starting to see the waves flowing into each other. And then we'll have a couple of waves here and there. And have that continue and mix those colors right up to the shore. Okay. So that's the suggestion of the ocean. We're going to make a couple of real quick waves. Remember, waves are white caps. They're white with darkness underneath for the shadows. In watercolor, you're always dealing with various shadows. So you can load up the brush with a little bit of blue and just say we have maybe a wave right here. And then we have another little wave right over here. And then you can actually take a dry brush in this case, and you're going to create the inside of the wave, white on top, a little bit of darker, a little bit of darkness, a little purple on the back end of that wave. And with that dry brush, you're going to pull that color down. Just pull it down just a little bit. Pull that color down. Now, another quick technique I'm going to show you is creating shadows and reflections. So just say we have a wave that hits the beach and it's going to break up a little bit. So here's the wave here. Load up that color. Load it up, a lot of blue. And then you'll again take a dry brush and you'll pull that color across, pull it across. You can even add just a little hair of water just to mix it up a little bit. And you can see I'm pulling that color right across to make it look like it's reflecting in the water that is right on the beach. So you pull that right across. Okay. Now, the last thing that I'll show you is just creating a little bit of sand, because if we're at the beach with the clouds and we have the reflection here of the water, we also want to have some sand as well so that we can keep our feet on the beach. So take a little bit of water and a little bit of brown or raw umber, or really any color that looks like sand. Add a little bit of water to it. and just adding that sand across. And this is where, and I'll show you this in just a second, you want to have a couple of different types of brown so that you can get some texture. Because remember, it's coarse, it's sand. So mix those colors in like that.
Hey, Michael,
Yes.
you know this kit did not come with brown, correct?
So you can actually, for the color that you would use, it would be the orange and the red, and then add a little bit of blue. You can do that as well. So you have the texture here. And then I'm going to actually use a little bit of the purple, a little bit of purple with a little bit of the orange. And then you could start to create some texture and some hills. And I always try to use a circular motion to make sure that I mix the colors in. And then finally, I'm going to use a little bit of the green. Take the green, a lighter color green. You can add that green for a layer of grasses. So there's the base coating, and then you take a fan brush or another small brush, add a little bit more green, and you can create grass. Just an upward motion to imply a grassy area right here on the beach, right next to the ocean. And that's that. So again, we were able to create the impression of clouds with the sky and the ocean with a couple of waves, and trying to get that reflection on the ocean sand with a little bit of grass and sand as well. So this is a technique that I've been using, which is, very, very raw. This is certainly not a finished painting. It usually takes me, a day or two to do a really nice finished painting where you add a lot more detail and waves and maybe a lighthouse and things like that. You could actually do something if you wanted to be really creative. You could actually create just like that. You could have a palm tree. If you want to be in Florida or maybe Hawaii. The fun thing about watercolor is you can use your creativity. It is very inexpensive. And it's a great way to just start. And a lot of people start out with watercolor and they move on to oils and acrylics. I just happen to stay with watercolor because I really enjoyed the medium. And really that's it. So those are a couple of techniques. Obviously, we're recording this as we said. And so you can take a look at those techniques. And when we send the recording out, if anyone has some questions about watercolor, please feel free to reach out to me. Erin, I think we're back in action with you.
Yes, and we should be, let me get myself bigger here so I can see. Okay, great. So we should be with a finished and pretty dry canvas. It's a little bit sticky, still a little bit tacky feeling, but I'm not coming off with paint when I'm rubbing my hand over it. So I should be able to layer on top of this. So what part of what Michael was showing you and some of the comments that you guys were saying, where you're saying that your painting looks awful. I'm going to tell you that I follow Bob Ross a lot. I've been saying his name a few times, and usually when I paint with watching Bob Ross, he'll start. And when you paint, one of the things that you have to learn kind of quickly on is that you have to start way in the back of your scene. You have to pull all the layers out and start way in the back of your scene. And so Bob Ross will be going and he's working way in the back of the scene, and I'll be yelling at him like, what are we doing? Mine looks like garbage compared to yours. What is happening? And as you keep layering on and layering on, like when Michael threw that palm tree on, it just kind of starts to bring that painting all together, and you start to really see the sky and the waves and the beach, and you just keep layering in that detail, and then all of a sudden you would have a beautiful painting, like some of the ones that Michael has done, and maybe you saw one of his in the art auction as well. Okay, so our canvas should be at a point where we're semi-dry. We're almost there, kind of sticky, a little bit tacky, but we can still paint on that. So you should have washed your flat brush, the larger flat brush that was in your kit. Wash that off, dry it pretty good with a paper towel. I did that when Michael was starting, and now my brush is nice and dry. If yours is still a little bit wet, that's okay. That'll actually help you a little bit with what our next step is. So on my palette, I do still have white paint, but I've kind of gotten it a little bit messy. There's still some clean white in there. There's a lot of green mixed into it because I've been messing around with it when I was painting. So what I'm actually going to do, because I want my dandelion to be pure white and nothing mixed into it when I'm putting that on the canvas, so it'll stand out against my background, is I'm going to just go ahead and grab some more white, and I'm going to put it on the other side of my plate so that it doesn't get anything else mixed into it. And I just have a nice white. Oops, I took way too much, but that's all right. A lot more white where that came from in my painter's bag. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and I've got all that white on the plate, on my palette. I'm gonna go ahead and get my brush into the white, kind of dabbing it down to keep its shape. Because what we're gonna start with is our stem of our dandelion. All right, and before we do this, everybody please grab your glass of liquid courage. You're gonna need it for this one. It's time for some confidence boosting, okay? All right, so get a lot of white on there. So we're gonna do our stem. And this part of the painting is the one that always makes me go, ooh, okay, there's my mark. Okay, so we're gonna make our mark today. We're going to make our mark. So think about, look at your canvas. Think about where you want that dandelion to be. There are lots of different things that you can do. And if you look at my examples here, lots of different directions that you can go. Okay, so these are swooping to the right. This one is swooping to the right. You could also go to the left. I have a tendency to go to the right. I don't know why, but I do. But you can go to the left. You can go whatever direction you want. It can be really bendy. Maybe it's really windy. Maybe it's really windy and it's very bendy. Maybe it's just swooping right here, not very windy. Maybe it's going to be straight up. Maybe you're going to have it going really, really diagonal to the side. You decide, you're the artist. Okay, so look at your canvas with your background as it is and think about where you want to put that mark. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that brush, and it's going to have a lot of white on it. And we are going to press fairly firmly because we want a nice solid line and a nice solid line for our stem. Okay, and we're going to start all the way at the bottom of the canvas. I'm going to hold mine so that I can get all the way to the bottom. So my easel has a bit of a lip on it. All right, I'm going to start all the way over here. You could start in the middle. You could start on this side. But again, I like to go to the right for some reason. And so I'm going to swoop off to the right. And I'm just going to practice for a second and just show you what I'm going to do. Just a solid movement. Try and keep the same amount of pressure as you go when you're doing your stem. The other thing I'm going to do is the way that I'm going to put my brush to the canvas. I'm going to hold it so that it's vertical, so that the edge of it is vertical, not flat. vertical. And the reason I'm going to do it vertical is so that my stem is a little bit thinner. If I pull it and it's vertical, I'm going to get a very thick stem, and I want a thin one. If you want a thick one, then go ahead and put it horizontal against your canvas. I'm going to go with a vertical stem. All right, everybody ready? Take a deep breath. Decide where you're going to put your mark and make your mark. Bring that up to about the middle of your canvas. About the middle of your canvas. If you didn't go all the way to the middle, that's okay. If you went really far to the top, that's okay. This is your painting. You are the artist, and it's going to come out however you want. And if you feel like you went too high, that's okay. You can fix that with our next step. If you feel like you went a little too low, you can fix that with our next step. I would caution you against going on that line again and trying to make it longer or fill it in more. It's okay if you can kind of see through it a little bit. That's going to help our design. It's going to keep it a little bit messy. You can see that mine got a little bit thin right here. And that's okay. It's going to help your design. It's going to keep it a little bit more rustic. Okay? And so it's going to be all right. Whatever mark you made is perfect. Okay? So with this next step, we are going to make the fluff of our dandelion. We are going to make, I don't know what the technical term of it is. We're going to make the fluff of the dandelion. So we're going to be doing a circular motion or making a circle as we paint to make that puff of the dandelion. Now, if you stepped outside right now and you picked a dandelion in my yard, because there's a couple out there. Google, I'm not talking to you. Okay. If you went out there and you grabbed a dandelion, you would notice, if you look at it, it's not a perfect cylinder. It's not a perfect circle. We're not looking for perfection today. We're looking for art. We're looking for art, and whatever you make is going to be perfect because you're the artist and this is going to be your masterpiece. Okay, so we're going to go back into the white. Everything we're going to do from now on is going to be in the white, unless you feel like changing colors. That's up to you. But we're going to do everything in the white. So just grab some white here. You don't need a lot. And I want you to kind of wipe it off, actually. You grab white so that it's all nice and in those bristles, and then wipe it off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to smash it. We're going to take our brush. We're going to smash it on the plate. Dab, 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 smash, smash, smash. So what we're doing is we're getting some of the paint off of the ends. And that's what's going to create our fluffy dandelion. Once you get a bunch of that off and you start to see on your plate that it's thinning out, then you're ready to go. The end of your brush should look smashed. Nice and smashed. Okay? Start at the end of your stem. Now, if you felt like your stem was too short, then I want you to jump maybe an inch from the end of your stem. But if your stem is nice and in the middle or where you want it to be, then start at the end of that stem. And we are going to smash. Okay, that's the technical term, I'm sure of it. We're going to smash our brush in a circular motion so that we can create our fluff. Now, as you're doing this, you want to be able to still see through your fluff because dandelions have a lot of space in between all of those little fluffs and puffs at the end of them, and you can kind of see through them. You see there? It's a little bit heavier in the middle, and then it's nice and fluffy as I worked my way out. And as I kept going, I have less and less paint on my brush. And so it gets nice and fluffy on the ends, but this is not big enough for me. I want that fluff, that dandelion fluff to be a lot bigger. So I'm going to go back to my palette. Get the lighting for you. Might get some more white on there. Get my brush full of paint. Wipe it off of the edges so it's not too full and gloppy. I'm going to start smashing it so that I can get some of that off of there. Smash, 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 dab, 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 till it's nice and smushed. And that's going to give me my fluff. And I'm just going to start back into the center and keep working my way out. I don't want one solid white blob here. I could have done that without smashing. So I just want to keep smashing and keep making this bigger. Just keep working your way out. Think of doing a spiral. Just work your way out. And the farther you go, the more you smash, the less paint is going to be on your brush and the fluffier it's going to be on the ends. So just keep smashing away. Keep smashing. Keep going till it's just how you want it. Nice and fluffy. I can still see my stem through over here. And I've got a nice fluffy dandelion. And again, it's a little bit different all over the dandelion because in nature, nothing is perfect. So we're not going for perfect. We're going for a masterpiece. All right. So just smash that. Smash it however you want. Woo! My arm is tired. How are you guys holding up? All right, let's take a look. You can still see the background coming through in between my little fluffs on my dandelion. Just smash around in a circle until it's as big as you want it to be. Just keep smashing until it's as big as you want it to be. So fluffy. So fluffy. Okay. Just smash and smash and smash. This is the fun part. I'm not looking for perfect. We're looking for art. We're looking for your masterpiece. So smash and smash and smash until you have a perfect dandelion or a dandelion that is perfect for you, until you feel it is done and ready and beautiful. All right. When you are done with that, we will be finished with this brush. We've been using this one the whole time. We're going to switch. We're going to switch over to our smallest round pointed brush. So as soon as you're done smashing, I caution you against over smashing. Over smashing is going to give you one solid white blob, and we could have done that so many other ways. Explain the technique better. The only words I have are dabbing and smashing. So get your brush full of paint because we want the bristles. Yeah, dabbing. We want the bristles to have paint all the way inside of them because that's going to keep you in paint as you're smashing it and dabbing it around. Pull some of that paint out so you don't have a ton of it on your brush. Okay. And then go somewhere else, clean on your palette. A little green there. And I just want you to dab it. Just put it directly onto your palette. And that's the exact same thing that you are going to do on your canvas. You could think of it as bouncing it off of the palette or off the canvas. Do the same thing when you get on the canvas, but do it in a circular motion on the canvas, and that'll give you your wisps, your wispy dandelion. Nice, fluffy, puffy dandelion. My mom had a suggestion as well. What was your suggestion, Mom? Straight down. Straight down, yeah, straight onto the canvas. Just bounce that off straight down. Did that help? Yes, okay, good. All right. So once you are done with that, we're gonna work on our little flyaway wispies. The seeds of our dandelion that are flying away to our neighbor's yard. All right, so I'm gonna put this, I'm done with this brush, so I'm gonna put that in my water. Swish that around, get the paint off the brush a little bit, and then I'm gonna let that dry there a little bit. And I'm going to grab my small, round, pointed brush. This is the smallest one that was in your kit. Okay, so you had a large one and a medium-sized one, and then you had that smallest one. It's got a number 4 on it. That is going to be the pointed brush that we are going to use to do our little flyaways. There are a couple ways that you can do these. I did this brownish one. I did those with the same kind of smashing technique, that same dabbing wispy technique. But if you go and you grab a dandelion out of your yard, they don't really look like that. You can still do it however you want. I still think that it looks great. I'll show you my mom's, because this one, hers looks a lot better on the wispies. So we're going to do little stems, and then we're going to do some little wispy ends. Just kind of little flyaways, little fans on the end. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do, if you watch my hand, we're going to do a little bit of a flicking motion. So we're going to keep our hands steady. We're just going to use our fingers to flick, flick, flick. And when we do that, we start with a lot of pressure, or more pressure anyway, more pressure when we start the line than when we finish, because the motion is going to bring that brush off the canvas. It lifts it up and off. And so you'll have a thicker line at the bottom, and it'll get thinner naturally as we go out. And if you went outside and you grabbed a dandelion and you pulled the little seeds off, there's a little seed at the bottom, very thin stem, and then the little wisps off the top. So that's kind of the look that we're going to go for. So we're going to use a little bit of a flicking motion. If you want to practice that, just hold your hand steady and flick, flick, flick. That's the motion we're going to go for this next step. Those back up there. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to go back onto my palette and back into my clean white. Cover my brush. I really don't want this to be too gloppy. I don't want it to be too thick. I want these to be nice and wispy. So I don't want this to be too thick. So I'm going to get it into the paint. Okay, got it in there. And then I'm just going to drag it across my plate to get some of that paint off. I still have paint, just not a lot. Okay, less is more for this step. Just get some paint on there. Everybody ready? Now I want you to think about your painting, look at your dandelion, look at the direction it's going, think about which way the wind is blowing, or if you are, oh, they're command strips, picture hangers. They're kind of like Velcro almost. Yeah, I use those all over my house. Okay, so not a lot of paint. We want to be very wispy and light. And just think about which way is the wind blowing, or is somebody holding this and they're blowing at it? Which way are they flying? Which way are they flying out into the wind? Which direction is your wish going? Okay. Because I'm a creature of habit, My wisps are gonna go this way. As they do in all of these that I've painted. Almost all of these that I've painted, but I also have a lot of room up here. So that's the other reason I'm gonna go this direction. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go this way. So I've got the paint, got my paint. I'm gonna do it again. So I'm obsessing over it. Just make sure I don't have a lot. Less is more. A lot of paint. Okay, and then we're gonna do our flick. We're just gonna get in there. I'm gonna use my pinky here just for balance. I don't want to put my hand into my fluffy dandelion. Let me use that and flick. I'll put another one over here. Flick. Try and make this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Not too much paint. I'm just going to flick, flick, and flick. Oops, that one went a little bit far. That's all right. We'll fix it with the wispies. Okay, I've got a lot of seeds flying off my dandelion. Okay, just gonna grab a little bit more paint here, and then I'm gonna go on the ends of each of these, and I'm gonna flick, 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 and get all those little wispies like a little fan on the end there. Okay, just make a little fan. They don't have to be long, just wisps, little lines, little thin lines. Less is more. Just add your little wisps. Flick, flick, flick. Oops, ran out of paint. Keep the paint light on your brush. Ooh, nice. That one's nice. I like that. Flick, flick, flick. All different directions. Make a little fan, little fuzzy seed flying off into the wind. I don't know if I can bring this closer for you guys. Just making them fuzzy. Giving them a little bit of a fan. Adding those little hairs that are on the ends of those seeds. Got a couple more here to do. Flick, flick, flick. Add those on there. There's nothing that has to be perfect about this. Again, in nature, nothing is. And in the wind, these are going to be flying all over the place. Right? Ooh, that one got long. Good. One more for me. Flick, 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 flick. And if you want, you can make the ends of the stems of these seeds a little bit rounder, a little bit thicker, because that is where the seed of this is for your dandelions, or on the end of these wisps. So you can make that a little bit thicker, a little bit more poignant. Just add a little dot. Just add a little dot with the tip of your brush. And you've got some wispies flying off of your dandelion. Lighting isn't that great for showing those little guys. So get your wispies going. And then the last step here before we sign our masterpieces is to add our power word. So I hope you've been thinking about what word you want to put on your painting. And Michael gave me a good idea for mine when he was showing you that champagne glass earlier. I am going to write MG strong on here because we are all warriors. We are strong and we can do anything, right? Okay, I have a piece of chalk that's going to help me to write my word. If you have chalk in your house, go grab a little piece of chalk. Doesn't even matter if it's colored chalk. You're going to wipe it off later or tomorrow. Doesn't matter if it's sidewalk chalk. You have that. I'm going to grab my white piece of chalk and I'm going to write my words just to make it easier for me to paint the words, because it's not that easy to paint a word freehand unless you are a master, and I am not. But I am just going to I'm not even going to do this script. Just going to write that in chalk right onto my painting. And then I'm going to take my white and my small round pointed brush, and I am going to paint right over that. The other thing that you can do to make it a little bit easier to do script is to add some clean water to the white. Just a tiny little bit, not a lot, just to thin out the paint will make it a little bit easier to do that script. But because I have my chalk and I have my outline, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to load up my brush. I'm going to let there be a ton of paint on here to do my script. And I am going to go ahead and paint that on here. And it's okay if I don't follow the lines exactly, because this chalk is going to wash off with just a little bit of water in a paper towel tomorrow morning. So I have gone purposely off my lines just so I could show you that it's okay that I'm doing that. Follow my lines here. Just follow the lines. Oh, my hand is shaking. There we go. And I can show the world that we are MG strong with my painting today. So when you're painting words, it can feel a little bit like calligraphy. I think they taught me calligraphy in elementary school. I'm sure they don't do that anymore. But it certainly helps me to think about doing that when I'm painting script. Because you do have to kind of paint in different directions in the same way that you would if you were writing in calligraphy. That's what I think about when I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm going to add my T. Going right into my R here. Just gonna get my word in there. So what words are you guys painting? What did you choose? What did you guys choose?
Believe.
Believe. I love that. Oh, that's a good one.
I can fly.
Ooh, that's great.
Wonder, because when I was a very small child, I called dandelions wonder blows.
Oh,
That is so
Beautiful.
cool.
that is cool. Faith, love. Wonderful. So you can see here, especially on my M, I went offline here a little bit. So you can see my chalk line and you can see my paint line. And tomorrow, when everything is perfectly dry, so I don't want to do this tonight, but tomorrow, when everything is 100% dry, it's not sticky, it's not tacky anymore, then I'm just going to take a paper towel, I'm going to get it a little bit damp, and I'm just going to rub that over the script here and get any of that leftover chalk off of my canvas. And you won't even know it was there. Okay.
My worst nightmare is I think I spelled it wrong. Oops.
No spell check in painting. I think it will be great. All right. The last thing that we're gonna do, artists, because this is your masterpiece, is you need to sign your name on your painting. You can sign it on the front, you can sign it on the back, however you want. You are the artist. I'm gonna put mine down here in the corner, or maybe I'm gonna go across my stem. I'm gonna go across my stem a little bit. Okay, so leave your mark on your painting. This is your masterpiece. This is your work of art. So make sure that you claim it as your own. With your signature when you are done. Just like all the greats. And you are great, and your paintings are beautiful. And when you are done, hold them up so that we can see them. And like Michael said, take a selfie with them and post them. Post them on Facebook, post them on Twitter. Light up the map teal if you haven't done so already for your state. Go to the MGFA website and light it up teal. Because you are an artist, you are MG Strong, and you are taking action for awareness this month. And I thank you all for joining us tonight. It was my pleasure to show you a little bit of my hobby and something that I love to do. Oh, these are beautiful. They're so great, you guys.
Hold them up, everyone. We want to see your artwork tonight. Thank you so much. Hold up your artwork. Yes, beautiful. Yes.
It's gorgeous.
You know, it's so interesting, Erin. You know, we talk about art and how, you know, people's creativity kicks in and everyone sees their own work of art in their own way, right? Like they're using, you know, different textures and different colors, and it's just so exciting when you get to see people's artwork and you really understand, you know, people are looking at it in their own way, and we're all individuals and we're all unique. And, you know, just like snowflakes, right? And that has a great application to MG, as we know. But, you know, even something like artwork on this canvas, we all see it in different ways, and it's all so unique. And it's just great seeing everyone's artwork. Everything looks beautiful.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
Erin, we really thank you for your work and for your explanation. Thank you so much for volunteering. We really, really appreciate it. And thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We hope you enjoyed the experience. Again, we've recorded it so you can practice some of these techniques. And again, thank you so much for supporting MGFA, for being a part of MG Action Month, and really, you know, taking action and being part of these events. We really, really appreciate your ongoing support. So again, thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to talk very soon. And please take those photos and submit them to MGFA through the global calendar. I'm sorry, the global map. And it would be great to see a lot of these works of art across the United States. So thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care
Thank
now.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Where are we posting these?
If you want, you can post them on social media. So if you
On
are on
my
Facebook,
own Instagram or the MGFA website or,
you can
mean,
do that
Instagram.
actually. And if you go to the MGFA website, we
Yeah.
have our awareness page and you can see a link to the global map. If you click on the global map link, you'll just fill out some information on the form, submit and upload your photo,
yeah.
and we'll display it for you.
Can I ask another question? These are expensive kits. Who provided these and how can we donate?
So actually, they were not expensive at all. In fact, when you go to Amazon, this was one of the least expensive kits.
Okay.
And the watercolor kit was also extremely inexpensive. So we tried to be very cost conscious. And so, you know, we ask people if they want to make a donation, they certainly can go to the MGFA website, hit that donation page, and you can make a donation of any amount.
Okay.
But this is something that MGFA, we wanted to do for the MG community, and we hope everyone enjoyed it tonight.
Oh, yeah,
That's great.
absolutely.
Great. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.